There's also an adventure in this book. Beyond all the playable options, there's ships, there's, booze menagerie that has all the monsters in it, but there is a core adventure in here. What was important for you to get right about a Spelljammer adventure? You ran Spelljammer for 5 years.
Yeah.
This was a big deal.
Well, there were a number of ways we could go with the Spelljammer adventure. The goal was to basically, the adventure is there to serve as an example. DMs are always going to want to create their own stuff, and we want to give them the tools to do that. But if you just wanted to sort of pick something up and run with it, you should be able to do that with this adventure.
So Light of Xaryxis is a adventure that gives people a taste of what Spelljammer has to offer. It takes place in 12 sessions, which are easier to run the way that they're formatted. So if you maybe don't have the time to commit an entire year of a campaign for something longer, you can dive in. Each one of them have a sort of summary in it, and many of them have a cliffhanger that you can kind of neatly cut off your sessions at the height of the moment, giving your players a reason to keep coming back for more.
I was having trouble settling on an idea, to be honest. I knew that one of the most likely ways to start an adventure is assume the characters are on a planet and don't know anything about spelljamming. Let's start there.
Okay.
Can I have an adventure that positions itself in that way, where the characters are sort of trained to learn about Spelljammer at the same time the players are learning about Spelljammer? And so that kind of set me on a path. It's like, okay, well, if this adventure is going to start on, say, the DM's home world, what can be happening? What inciting event can sort of get things in motion and get the characters to space as quickly as possible? And so I started to think about, well, what movies or shows have I seen that do that? And the movie I landed on was the 1980 film Flash Gordon. And I watched it again along with a number of other things at the time and thought, okay, in this movie, our hero is a land-based dude, a football player,
Yeah.
who gets swept up into a story by basically a kind of a mad scientist archetype and shot into space on a rocket to try to save Earth from destruction by a being or beings he knows nothing about. He has no concept of what is waiting for him out in space. And I thought, okay, let's tell an adventure that kind of does that kind of follows the Flash Gordon model. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, Flash Gordon, before it was a movie, was a serialized comic back in the 30s. And I don't know how much you remember about those old comics, but they had the same kind of campy style where, oh my God, Flash's shirt has been ripped and he's in the middle of a gladiatorial arena fighting a monster to save a beautiful, whatever.
Yeah.
There are certain cliches that maybe weren't cliches back then, but certainly are now that are sort of fun to look back on. But moving away from the cliches, the thing that really captivated me was this idea that, oh, this was a comic series that was serialized for years, and they always tried to end everyone on a cliffhanger.
Right.
Wouldn't that be kind of fun? We've never done an adventure which was written as a series of cliffhangers. And that's what sort of set me off. It's like, okay, that's what we're going to do. We've got 64 pages. It's not a ton of space, so it's not going to be as big or as broad an adventure as some of our other adventure books like The Wild Beyond the Witchlight or Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's going to be a rocket through space, basically, into danger, and then you're going to have one thing happen to you after the next, and end every session with a cliffhanger and teach the DM how to do that, and then build the whole structure of the adventure around that concept. Can we do that? I have no idea. Let's find out.
I get the sense from the entire team, everyone just had a lot of fun making this.
Well, I certainly did. I won't speak for all the others, but everybody seemed to be having fun.
And I think what's fun about Spelljammer, particularly for me, is the idea of your cast and crew. You have your adventuring party, But then a lot of the times you are going to be introduced to a larger cast of characters. Any good ship has its crew, and within that crew you have NPCs that you come to know and love, and you kind of always have this mobile home base that you're going to take your spelljamming ship to other worlds, out into Wildspace and beyond, but that home base comes with you. So you're always going to come back. You see, like animes like Cowboy Bebop. There's someone cooking half the time. You're going to see people working on the sails. These NPCs will get names. Your players will come to know and love them. And I think that's exciting and builds a camaraderie that kind of goes bigger than the adventuring party at times.
While I was busy working mostly on the Astral Adventurer's Guide and Boo's Astral Menagerie, I was able to draft some outside writers to help with the adventure, crafting it, shaping it, hammering out the different episodes, trying to time everything so that we could lay out the book so that all the episodes break cleanly over spreads, so that as a DM, when you go into running a session, you only have to read between 2 and 4 pages or 2, whatever, to run the game.
Yeah, very little can become quite a lot when you're running any session.
Yes.
Yeah, it couldn't just be 2 or 4 pages. Is this informed at all by you've live streamed a lot of D&D games as well, so you do have a sense of like that cliffhanger moment, like, okay, it's been 2 or 3 hours, now I've got to hit them with.
Yeah, it's like you have to take stock of what all can happen in this session. Like, are we introducing some new NPCs? Where are they going? What are they doing? Is there a battle that's taking place during this game? How long do we expect that to take? And then try to predict, based on all the things in this section, what point is the best end point that is going to make the characters go, ooh, or the players go, ah, don't stop here, I want to keep playing.
The Rock of Brawl is a thing now, is back, right?
So those who don't know, back when Spelljammer was first conceived, there was a short little appendix at the end of the first Spelljammer product, that talked about the Rock of Brawl as kind of a campaign hub, or a place you can go to rest and relax and shop and sell your goods and whatnot. It's basically an independent city built on an asteroid in space, which could be located anywhere you want. Then, as the Spelljammer line expanded, a product was written called Rock of Brawl, which was a 96-page book all about the rock, and it fleshed it out in great detail, and it included a poster map of the city, top side and underside. I loved the Rock of Brawl. It was central to my campaign as a youngster, and I thought, I want to bring this back so that DMs can use it, as I did, as a campaign hub, or a place the characters can basically lay over and get ship repairs done and stuff like that. And so in the Astral Adventurer's Guide, we flesh out the Rock of Brawl, and we have a poster map of it.
And there's 2 sides to it too. Like, you have the city side, but there's also like where farming is going on and everything else, because this is space.
It's a self-sufficient city.
Yeah.
So while most of the people live on the top side, the underside has the military installations as well as all of the fields where crops and things are grown. And but it's largely off limits to people because nobody wants you mucking around in their crops.
No.
And so on and so forth. But it's such a rich place, and there's so much going on there. And there's some political intrigue if you want that. If you need to buy a spelljamming helm, there's a place you can go to that. There are some delightful, colorful characters. My favorite place on the Rock of Brawl is a place called the Happy Beholder. It is a tavern run by a very large beholder named Luigi. I didn't create that. That's pre-existing lore, but it's fantastic. I love it.
If you liked this interview and you'd like to see more, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little bell symbol so you're notified anytime a video like this comes out. Thank you so much for watching.